Welcome to Catalyst Chats, where leaders spark ideas, share wins, and tackle people challenges that shape the future of work.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Catalyst Chats. I'm Lindsey Hammer, and today I have the privilege of speaking with Sean Tepper. Sean is the CEO and founder of Tykr. Sean, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, Lindsey, thanks for the invite.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be connecting with you. I know your background is in IT and you've found this company and it's really kind of taken off for you. So I'd love it if you could share a little bit of your background with our audience.
Yeah, I'll try to keep it to like the 2-minute backstory, but there's some entertainment within. So my background is about 20 years in tech and about 15 years in investing. And what I did, this was around 2010 or 11, I just went through a merger of my first business, and it wasn't like a check was written like, hey, here's $1 million. It was a pretty small business, just building websites and software for small and mid-sized businesses. But anyway, at that point, I wanted to start making money work for me as opposed to me always working for money. So the stock market is where you can go to do that. However, I didn't know where to start. So like most people, I joined a broker. And then I had the option to buy whatever stocks I want, but I didn't know what to do. So I kind of just went with the flow of like following social media gurus. And over 4 years or 5 years, I maybe kept up with the S&P 500. So it wasn't really that great. So I decided, let's take a step back here and do things right, like Warren Buffett and the late Charlie Munger. So what I did is I read as many books as I could, went on the YouTube rabbit hole, and I did find out some of the calculus that they use. And there's a guy out there by the name of Phil Town. He's been investing for years, and he provided some of the math because I knew like these guys are not picking based on emotions, which means math is the starting point. And I'm kind of a math nerd. So I put together this Excel sheet, and then I wanted to go a step further to make it really easy for me to make a decision. So I was asking myself the question like, hey, what is the easiest to understand rating system around the world? And I was like, you know what? The traffic light does a really, really good job. So in our system, stocks are either on sale, watch, or overpriced, green, gray, or red. And then I used that for about 4 years, making returns between 15 and 50% per year. And I was like, okay, so S&P 500 typically returns about 8 to 10%. So I'm beating the market.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I'm like, all right, so I found something here that works. Now, I always wanted to create a SaaS business. So I started talking to a few of the retail investors, even a few financial advisors, and everybody was like, hey, you should turn this into a software to share with others. And that was a green light. It was like a 10-year time period that I was trying to think of like a SaaS idea, a subscription play. However, I didn't have any really good ideas that had low competition. But this, I was like, there's not a lot of good options out there. So I think I should move forward with this. But anyway, yes,
Totally.
2019, everybody's like, you should do this. It took about a year to build the first version. We went live in 20 with
Okay.
Tykr. And then, fast forward to today, we now have over 12,000 customers in over
Wow,
50
that's amazing.
countries. Yeah. Thank you.
That's really exciting. And I think I'm curious if you feel like the timing of it with COVID played into any of that momentum.
That was coincidental, actually. Yeah, it was like, to get this, in 2010, only about 2% of assets in the market were traded by retail investor. It took 9 years to get to 4%, but then because of COVID in 2019, it jumped up to 19%.
Okay.
So go from 4 to 19% in 1 year. And then it just started taking off from there. Yeah. So today, about 50% of the assets, in other words, the money being traded in the market, are from retail, and the other 50% is from what you would call institutional. So your large investment firms. Yeah, they're like over 300 million retail investors, just regular people like you and I, on the top 25 brokers. And I won't go into detail here, but it's like people will be like at a cookout or like at a party or, on Reddit or wherever. And somebody will say, oh, I just bought shares of stock on this broker and brokers are free. So the barrier to entry is like next to nothing. So now the issue though, of course, this circles back to my issue was, okay, so you join a broker.
Right.
What do you do next? Well, we solve that problem.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. And I'd love to understand a little bit more. I've looked at your website, and for the audience, would love to understand a bit more about what makes Tykr different than some of your competitors out there?
Yeah. So the number one thing is, and this is something that nobody else was able to solve, and this is more of a metric for brokers. And give context there. My past background is at GE, Kohler, and a few other large corporations. The majority of the projects I worked on are distribution. Like, how do we align with the distributor, solve a problem on their end, and that way we get in front of, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or millions of people. So I was pretty much asking the same question. Okay, so where are the most retail investors all hanging out?
Yeah.
Well, sure, other fintech platforms, but the top of the food chain, as we phrase it, would be brokers. So what's the biggest problem with brokers? That would be lack of transaction volumes. And what that means is people join, they're excited to join, for example, Robinhood, but then after they join, I don't know what to do next. And the majority of the revenue generated at brokers comes from transactions because there's still a small fee behind the
Right.
scenes. Yeah, so we are now showing after 5 years, this took a long time to get to, but we're showing that our customers typically make about 20% more per month. And none of our competitors are able to show that, like that
It's
transaction
impressive.
increase. So yeah, because of that, there are now, we're talking to 6 brokers. I can't say any names,
Yeah.
but 2 of them are right at the 1 yard line, if you will, to move into touchdown phase of moving forward to introduce all their customers to Tykr because they want their customers to simply make more transactions.
Totally.
Yeah. So I'll
That's
give you
awesome.
two other reasons or 2 other ways we're different. One is the transactions. 2 is all of our calculations are open source for personal use. Nobody's doing that. We don't have any secret sauce or black box. If somebody's a math nerd like me, you can go to tykr.com, education tab, and there's a calculations. If you scroll down, we tell people you can go create your own version of Tykr for personal
Yeah.
use, and we're not going to stop you. And then on top of that, this is the third reason we're different. We put patents on our processes. So
Okay.
if anybody tries to resell, I probably wouldn't do that, but
Yeah.
still the trust and transparency of making it open source has really been a big lift with people. Who should I go with? Well, Tykr is open source. Nobody else is, or most people aren't.
Right.
So that is a differentiator. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely remove some of the what can feel like smoke and mirrors.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I'd love to understand more too as a SaaS entrepreneur. What are some of the trends that you're seeing? And especially with AI, have you felt any impact with your business from what's happening with AI?
Yeah, so we've got a tool in Tykr called the 4M Confidence Booster, and it was a manual process before. I'll give you the 4Ms here, and I have to give all the credit to Warren Buffett. Kind of came up with this methodology, but Phil Town coined the phrase the 4Ms, and we went ahead and put a patent on that.
Nice.
But the first is the math part. That's everything quantitative with investing. So anything mathematical related. The second M is the meaning of the business. That's how the business makes money, how scalable the revenue streams are. You at Amazon, you get a lot of revenue streams in that business. It's a great place to be. It just takes decades to get there. The third is the moat. That's how a business compares to other businesses in the same sector and industry. And then the last M, that fourth M, is the management. That's the track record of the CEO. Well, doing that manually, which we used to have a manual process, would take you literally hours, if not days. We've reduced it down to seconds with OpenAI. So yeah, it does all that qualitative homework for you. And then we have a rating. Gamification is huge. So the 4M score on 100-point scale, you want to get over 80. That's really, really hard to do. So we use AI. That's one way. And that's been live for a year or 2. The second way, we're working on an AI investing helper. And that way it's your guide in Tykr. You can ask hey, what are the top 10 strongest restaurant stocks or car stocks?
Yeah.
Right? Or where should I start? Or how many stocks should I hold? We'll do everything we can, but we will not and we cannot do personalized financial advice. So for example, we can't ask you your age, your risk level, and other criteria, and then give you stock ideas based on that. That would fall into financial advisory territory.
Okay, so that's really the differentiation point there.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so AI, I won't go into too much detail here, but I do see kind of AI tools as a research helper in this space. I'm seeing a few brokers come up with kind of high-level ideas, but it'll, be honest with you, to take them years to kind of recreate or even do what Tykr is doing.
Yeah.
So that's why we'd rather partner with brokers. We don't look at them as, of course, competitors.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's super exciting, the momentum you have there with that too. Well, as an entrepreneur, I mean, what are some of the challenges that you faced getting Tykr off the ground? And then looking back, where do you want to be in 2 to 5 years?
Yeah. Fortunately, I had a few business failures before this, kind of in parallel to doing a lot of work with larger corporations. And I tried like a Groupon knockoff that didn't work in like 2013. That was on like the tail end of like they say timing's everything. And this is when
Yeah.
daily deals were kind of falling out of favor. They were hot in like 2009 and 10.
Yeah.
13 is like, yeah,
It was in that space actually with Amazon around that time.
okay. Yeah, I was too late on that one. Then I had like a fundraising type business where you would split the profits of whatever, whether it's coupon deals to restaurants or whatever, you split it 50-50 with organizations, whether it's Boys and Girls Club or
Yeah.
Little League or churches or whatever. And that was a partner issue, a partner who wanted to wait for everything to be built first before selling, which is I see that mistake too much where people want everything built first, then
Yeah.
they sell, whereas you should be selling in parallel, and the visual you use is you can simply use Figma or PowerPoint or whatever to get people on board, like an early adoption
Yeah.
discount, right? Like there was no creative thinking there. So I before I get too far ahead, I shut it down. But anyway, like with Tykr, I made the mistake in my earlier days. I had this issue for a long time, which is hiring fast, firing
Yeah.
slow. I have since flipped that equation. Now I hire really slow. It is, to be honest with you, it's very hard to get hired at Tykr now.
Yeah.
Because of those,
I think that's
but
important.
yeah, yeah, I was bringing on toxic people that did not want to listen to the customer. Like I'm really big on you need to not only talk to the customer, but you got to dive in deep. You got to do Zoom calls. You got to do screen shares. You got to understand the
Yeah.
ins and outs of what their pain points are to really create a product that has product market fit. And I found that most entrepreneurs, they won't go to that level. They won't meet with people on Zoom. They won't talk to people. They'll just kind of do some
Yeah. Interesting.
surveys. It drives me nuts. It's like, no, another thing too, is these people would not want to do customer service because they're above it. And I'm like, you have to, whether you like it or not, your first 3 years as a founder or one of the key employees, you have to do customer service, whether you
Totally.
like it or not. The first 3
Yeah.
years, like there's no way around it. And yeah, these people, they were above talking to customers. It drove me nuts. So you have to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. It feels like a miss not to, for sure. Where would you like to be looking ahead 5 years from now?
Yeah. So our goal is within the next 5 years to get to 1 million subscribers. And I know that can be achieved we have to have the right distributors. Like my days at Kohler, they had tens of thousands, I think over 10,000 actually distributors or channel partners. And it could be small plumbing contractors all the way up to the Costco's and the Home Depots of the world, in Microsoft, it's a very similar play. They have all these like IT management firms that are reselling their products.
Yeah.
And that's where you want, like in your world at Amazon, I worked with, larger management consulting firms like Accenture, Deloitte, Boston
Yeah.
Consulting Group. They would resell AWS. They would do the implementation, and those are multi-million-dollar projects. And Amazon they're charging a lot of money for that.
Yeah.
They're making a ton of money, but the implementation is on the shoulders of the management consulting firm. So in us, it's like, yeah, we connect with one broker, we'll leverage their case study to go after others. And that's, some of these brokers have 10, 20 million plus users.
Yeah.
It's like we can get to 1 million subs. Well, we need the right channel partners or distributors to get there.
Yeah. That's exciting. Well, and you mentioned, taking us back a little bit now, but you mentioned hiring a lot slower. At what point did you realize that shift needed to happen? How far in? And how have you made that pivot to, it sounds like maybe firing quicker and implemented maybe screening processes that have helped you do that?
Yeah. So I noticed it was like, there's always this big excitement. Like people want to work at your company, really love what you're working on, great product. And you kind of figure out their skill sets and where I needed help, which is I'm a non-technical founder. I've always done project management and sales. So I know enough to be dangerous, but I don't write code nor architect really, really, you could call it world-class tech stacks. Like that's where I really needed help with something that can scale to 1 million users.
Yeah.
I always would rely on like a CTO equivalent type person or a lead software architect or lead engineer. So I brought on somebody that was going to be a key role, like a CTO, and within months, it was not talking to customers, didn't collaborate with the rest of the team. It wanted a vote, like one of those situations where everybody gets a vote on everything. It's like, no, I see what you mean, but I'm the like the product owner slash I'm the
Yeah.
guy that's been investing for 15 years here.
Right.
Like I know what retail investors want, and it's just constant headbutting on features and customers. You get like 3 customers asking for something, and I'd be like, all right, we got to do this. They're like,
Yeah.
no, that doesn't mean you do it. It's like, no, we could talk to more customers. They're probably going to say the same thing. And sure enough, that has reduced our churn. And so anyway, fast forward, it went on for another like 9 months, and I was actually going to lay this person off, and they came to me the same day and they quit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
Well,
that
that
worked
made it,
itself out.
hopefully made it easier.
Yeah, it did, and they brought another person or 2 with them, and that next day they were gone. Those other 2
Yeah.
people, like Trent, we're cutting the staff. Like any toxic details there are within people. I'm like I got to get rid of them. So now we have a questionnaire that asks a lot of questions, and we look for people that like one of the key questions I'll ask is what is your definition of field awareness or court awareness? And if you're an
Okay.
athlete or have an athletic background, which I do, and a lot of the team members that work at Tykr do,
Yeah.
they'll have an answer for that question, which essentially means you should know what needs to be done without really being told. Sure, there's going to be some onboarding and
Yeah.
training coming in Tykr, but after that, it's like you should be able to make heads up plays. As I told one guy who, and I'll stop talking after this, but this is a really
No,
good
this is
example,
great.
is he's one of these guys who he's got, and I remember a leader years ago told me, if you can find people with 2 things, and it's not a degree that counts, because that doesn't matter. What
Yeah.
counts is attitude and aptitude. You got a
Yeah.
good attitude, you can't teach that. And you've got aptitude, a willingness to learn, you can't teach that. If you got
Totally.
those 2 things, you've got somebody. And I've got this guy he's younger, he's green, but he's got a great attitude and he wants to learn. He's made some
Yeah.
mistakes along the way, but there's one day where he was kind of sitting around and waiting when it was something that I trained him on. I'm like, hey, you're a soccer fan. If I kick the soccer ball to you, I'm not going to then walk over to you and kick the ball I then kicked to you.
Yeah.
At that point, when I kick it to you, I do not care how you score the goal. You
Yeah.
can do a side kick, you can do a back flip. I do not care. I do not care how you put points on the board. All I care about is that you put points on the board. And because he was afraid to make mistakes, and I'm like,
Yeah.
And so I told him, I'm like, we are a culture where I want you to fail forward and fail fast.
Totally.
Learn from it quickly, get up, go put some points on the board. And so I don't micromanage people now, but I'm like, I want you moving with a purpose. I want you scoring points, whatever in other words, serving the customer.
Yeah.
If you make them happy, I'm happy.
Yeah. I think that's huge. And as someone who's been in leadership and HR and talent acquisition most of my life, I think you're spot on with those sayings. Like you can't teach attitude and you can't force someone to be curious. And I think to have somebody who's going to be successful, they can be green, but they have to have those sayings in order to get in and be hungry and start figuring things out. So I would say kudos to you on that too, because I think it's really important when I look at leaders that I've wanted to work for versus leaders that I've worked for and would not want to work for again. I think that psychological safety is something that I really appreciated when they made a culture that felt safe to fail fast so that you could make mistakes and grow.
Yeah, and that's how you learn,
Totally.
Right? Like and I've like you, I've worked at those cultures where you get torn apart. Like if you make a little mistake and it's just toxic cultures.
I think the best lessons I've learned have been from mistakes I've made, and I'm so grateful for the leaders that I made those under who allowed me to move past it. And it was, that's great. Let's not do it again. And what did we learn from it?
Yeah. I'll ask that. Like, hey, what did you learn? All right, now let's share that with the team. And move forward. And so I look back at all the places that I did not like working and the leaders quote unquote leaders. They weren't really
Right.
leaders. They're
Managers.
managers. I remember, I'll keep this real quick, but I remember the first day at, I won't say the company, I got a job at a company on day one. Somebody said to me, there are a lot of managers at this place and very few leaders, and one should be wise to know the difference. And at that moment, I was like, oh, shoot, what
Not
did I
what you
just
want
get
to hear on
into?
day one.
You're right. It was day one, and it was a year, the worst year I've ever
Oh.
had in my life, and I made it 1 year, and then I'm like, I'm out.
Yeah.
See, I
Yeah.
can't believe I made it a year.
Yeah. I know. On day one, I would have been like, oh, great. What have we gotten
Yeah,
into?
right. This was a mistake, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was brutal.
I think the one other piece of advice I always gave individuals who reported to me was, I want you to make mistakes, but I want you to come to me when you make them. Because the only thing that really broke trust with me when I was leading a team was if somebody tried to cover up the mistake, because it never made things better. It always got worse.
Yeah, you 100% agree with that. Yeah, like own it. Like come to me, own it. You know, a lot
Right.
of our principles are their sports mentality. You know, if you
Yeah.
make it like when you, for example, baseball, when you go to the home plate and every time you swing, you're not going to hit a home run.
Right.
You're not.
Yeah.
To have that expectation that you're always going to make the right decision, that's not realistic. So feel free
Yeah.
to go, move forward, make mistakes and own them. Let us know what happened and we go from there.
I think
So,
that's great. Yeah. Well, I feel like you've given a lot of great advice too for anyone listening. But any other advice you would have for an entrepreneur?
the biggest thing is like talking to customers, and I know there's a lot of people out there, they're in a position where they want to move from, let's say it's a full-time job, whether it's a large corporation or maybe a small business, and they want to make that leap. And
Yeah.
it's like the best thing to do is whatever idea you have is talk to as many people as possible and find out what are the biggest pain points and really like dig in, peel back that onion, find out, and you can structure some kind of service or product to serve that or to solve those problems.
Yeah.
But it's going to require the thing that 99% of entrepreneurs don't do, which is talk to people. They'll talk to 2 people and call it good. It's like, no. You try to get a good data set of like 20 to 30, 20 to 40 people somewhere in there.
Yeah.
You can get a pretty good idea what needs to be done. You'll find out the competitors, like what products do you use today?
Right.
What are they missing? You know, what can they do better? It's like, it's not hard. It's just
Yeah.
the time to ask the questions.
Totally. That time and curiosity. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think that's great advice. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, anything else that you want to share with the audience?
If anybody's interested in investing on their own, we've got, get this, ages in Tykr are between 18 and 70.
Nice. That's awesome.
12,000. So we got people like they're like high school or just around that age, all the way up to like retirement, and they like to invest on their own. But yeah, if you want to join Tykr, we are a free to join platform. We get a trial. So you can go to tykr.com, TYKR.com. And of course, I use LinkedIn a lot. So the second location would be just find me on LinkedIn, and Sean is spelled the Sean Connery way, Sean Tepper. So
The right way.
yeah. Yeah. So as everybody tells me, you spell it the right way. So when that's said with an eavesdrop of an SHAUN or SHAUN, that's when like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. What do you mean? I'm a Lindsey. I get that a lot too. I'm like, it's the right way.
Yes. Right.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Sean. I really appreciate your time, and looking forward to seeing what Tykr does from here.
Yes. Thank you, Lindsey. Appreciate your
Thank you for listening to Catalyst Chats. Like, share, and don't forget to follow.